I'm Rob Snow. Prime Minister Carney has called a news conference for today. It should be starting momentarily. It had been scheduled for noon Eastern time in Ottawa. His office isn't saying what it's about, other than it's an update on the U.S.-Canada trading relationship. Bloomberg News is reporting that Canada is going to drop many of the retaliatory tariffs that it has on U.S. imports into Canada as an olive branch to the Trump administration in hopes of getting some tariff relief for Canada, bringing down tensions, and working towards a long-term trade deal. We know that the Prime Minister has been meeting with his cabinet today in Ottawa, most likely bringing cabinet members up to date on any new developments. I want to get right to Barry McLoughlin, who would be joining us usually around this time this week. Barry McLoughlin is the president of TLC, Transformational Leadership Consultants. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Rob. We're all waiting.
Yes, and while we await the Prime Minister, you have always told us you don't have a news conference unless you have some news. And here we have it, Friday at noon Eastern time, not the usual time Prime Ministers would be having news conferences. What do you think of the development?
Well, he's jumping on top of the call that he finally got yesterday with Trump. He hadn't talked to him since the tariffs came down. So, I think it's a recognition that the retaliatory tariffs have maybe had their elbows up moment, but this is not good for the longer term. And he's a longer term kind of prime minister. So the longer term is we got to get those 35% tariffs on the non-aluminum steel down to 25. I think that might well be a Trump reaction. And secondly, to set the table for restarting CUSMA. We got to restart those CUSMA negotiations. And of course, to change the temperature. We were right now in a very bad relationship, whatever word you want to use, with the United States. It's not good on so many levels. It's minimalistic at best. We're ignored from the Five Eyes kind of briefings and that kind of thing, on Ukraine and everything. So we have to make sure we get back in the game. And retaliatory tariffs, I don't think were meant for the long term. And so it matters these things matter to Trump. We heard more about, Kentucky bourbon than almost anything in the past number of months. So this is a good. I think it's going to hurt. It'll be an elbows down for the critics. I think they'll say he's gone soft on this, but he's a longer term player, and there has to be some long term benefit out of this.
I should mention in Washington, the Washington media is reporting Donald Trump is also having a news conference around the same time today, and that is something that was not on the president's daily schedule. Maybe it's about the situation in Canada. Maybe not. We don't know. The big news in U.S. politics, as I'm sure you're aware, is that the FBI conducted a raid on the home of John Bolton, who was Trump's former national security advisor. And this is apparently about whether John Bolton disclosed classified information in a book that he published in 2020. So the Trump news conference, it might be about Canada, but it could be about something else entirely. We just don't know right now.
Yeah.
But as you say, the
common theme, though, will be the nastiness of the response, and that's
right.
that can well happen out of anything.
Okay, so the Bloomberg report says the Canadian tariffs will remain on U.S. autos, auto parts, steel, and aluminum for now, but most of the other retaliatory tariffs on items that are covered by the current USMCA trade deal will be dropped, again as a sign of outreach, I guess, to Donald Trump. There will be those who will say, well, what happened to elbows up? He's going to be asked about that. Are you placating an American president who is trying to damage the Canadian economy? Well, how would you answer that? How would you answer that if you were the prime minister?
I think the answer to that is we respect CUSMA. We have always respected CUSMA. We've been annoyed when the United States has not respected CUSMA, and we won't be disrespecting CUSMA. And keeping these retaliatory tariffs are disrespecting CUSMA. So we are dropping those. He's got to walk the talk here. And he has to be consistent with what we're saying about the United States, who have not respected it. So I think that's an important thing here. It's a high road, and any victory, minimal or not, that Trump can claim, he will try to twist Canada's words. He will try to crow. He'll crow. He doesn't. Whenever he wins something, he crows about it. He likes that extra humiliation factor. So will he try to do that with Mark Carney? Well, he hasn't done that so far with him. Let's see if he does that now, and then Carney's reaction to that will become important.
It's been in the news media recently. We've talked about it on this show. The Globe and Mail has a major write-up today, 100 days since the cabinet was sworn in. And we've talked about this in the past 100 days and the importance of showing some kind of progress on big files within 100 days. Yeah. It's kind of this benchmark that goes back to the FDR days in the United States. I'm wondering, do you think that plays into it at all, Barry?
It might well. It might well, for sure. 100 days is an important factor. Now we see it just about to start. So let's find out if any of this comes to play.
Thank you, Barry. McLoughlin from TLC Transformational Leadership Consultants, as the Prime Minister starts speaking now in Ottawa. This is live on News Radio.
Relationship. The objectives of Canada's new government have been constant. First, to protect Canadian workers and their families. Second, to reinforce the competitiveness of Canadian businesses. And thirdly, to build the strongest economy in the G7. Our negotiations with the United States have been taking place as the U.S. has been in the process of fundamentally transforming all of its trading relationships. This new U.S. trade policy has several motivations: to raise tariff revenues, to protect strategic industries, to encourage foreign investment in the United States, and to change trade and non-trade policy in U.S. partners. And to these ends, the United States has announced a series of trade actions. Those began near the start of this year with the so-called IEEPA tariffs against Canada and Mexico based on U.S. concerns about the border and fentanyl trafficking. Those were quickly followed by reciprocal tariffs on every U.S. trade partner and very high sectoral tariffs applied globally on strategic industries, including steel, aluminum, autos, and copper. The United States has also imposed substantial trade actions on the Canadian lumber industry. Now, in recent weeks, the United States has agreed a series of trade deals with a variety of countries. And these deals have several aspects in common. First, baseline tariffs that cover a broad range of goods and services that are substantially higher than those U.S. tariffs that existed before. In fact, the average U.S. tariff rate on the world has jumped from just over 2% at the end of last year to almost 16%, 8 times higher, 16% currently. Those trade deals with other countries also have limited or no relief from those sectoral tariffs in those strategic industries such as steel and autos. They include substantial commitments by the U.S. trade partners for investments in the United States and significant unilateral trade liberalization measures by U.S. trade partners. As a result of these developments, the breadth and the depth of the changes in U.S. trade policy have become more fully apparent. Specifically, under the new U.S. approach, countries must now buy access to the world's largest economy through a combination of tariffs, investments, unilateral trade liberalization, and policy changes in their home markets. Now, as in previous trade disputes, Canada has implemented a series of retaliatory tariffs. Their objectives have been to protect Canadian workers and businesses and to incentivize a negotiated settlement with the United States. Few other countries followed suit. In a positive and very important development earlier this month, just a few weeks ago, the United States reaffirmed a core commitment to our free trade agreement, CUSMA, by reinforcing that those Canadian exports to the United States that are compliant with that agreement, that are compliant with CUSMA, will not be subject to U.S. IEEPA tariffs. Now, there's a lot of acronyms in that paragraph, so let me try to summarize what that actually means. As a result of that decision by the United States, the actual U.S. tariff rate on Canadian goods is 5.6%. Compare that to the 16% global average. That remains the lowest amongst all of the United States trading partners. And more than 85% of Canada-US trade is now tariff-free. So let's be absolutely clear. Canada currently has the best trade deal with the United States. And while it's different from what we had before, it is still better than that of any other country. So as we work to address outstanding trade issues with the United States, it's important, it's vital. We do everything we can to preserve this unique advantage for Canadian workers, Canadian businesses. And doing so will require both building on a soon-to-be revised CUSMA, our free trade agreement with the U.S. and Mexico, as well as developing a new form of trade and security partnership with the United States. In this context, and consistent with Canada's commitment to CUSMA, I'm announcing today that the Canadian government will now match the United States by removing all of Canada's tariffs on U.S. goods specifically covered under CUSMA. Soyons clairs. Le Canada.
Let me be clear.
That is the Prime Minister Mark Carney in Ottawa today, confirming a report earlier that Canada is going to drop counter duties on United States products imported into Canada that comply with CUSMA or USMCA, the Canada-United States-Mexico Free Trade Agreement. While the Prime Minister repeats much of this in French, we will stop here. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Critical thinking is not dead.
Now you know with Rob Snow.
Returns on News Radio.
The Prime Minister, Mark Carney, is having a news conference in Ottawa right now. We'll take you back to that shortly when he opens the floor to questions from members of the press gallery. The big news, however, is now known. Canada is going to drop its counter tariffs on American goods that are covered by the free trade agreement between the two countries amid this ongoing trade dispute with the United States. Carney is making this announcement after he had a cabinet meeting this morning in Ottawa, and he also had a phone call with the U.S. President Donald Trump yesterday. In a statement to the news media in Washington, a White House official said that the Trump administration welcomes the move from the Carney government and calls it long overdue, and adds that they look forward to, quote, continuing discussions with Canada on the administration's trade and national security concerns. We should say this has been, ongoing for months, of course, and there are significant tariffs on Canadian exports to the United States that do not comply with USMCA. 50% tariff on aluminum, steel, copper, a 25% tariff on cars and trucks not built in the United States, a 10% tariff on non-USMCA compliant potash and energy projects like oil from Alberta. And in addition to that, tariffs on softwood lumber, they were increased to 35% in addition to any existing duties. And the Trump administration said, be on notice, Canada, dairy products, semiconductor, pharmaceuticals, all under review for future tariffs. But Canadian tariffs on U.S. Autos, steel, and aluminum remain for now, but most other retaliatory tariffs on items that are covered by the current USMCA trade deal will be dropped as a sign of goodwill, if you will, to Donald Trump. We'll be right back. That's a recap. I'm Rob Snow. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Right back to a news conference in Ottawa with Prime Minister Mark Carney, who just announced that Canada will drop most of the retaliatory tariffs that it has on U.S. imports into Canada as an olive branch to the Trump administration. This is live.
Let's be clear. we have the best deal of anyone in the world right now. We have the lowest tariff rate on average, a little over 5.5% versus that 16% average for the world, and in many cases much higher. We have that confirmed in an executive order of the president a few weeks ago. It's important that we preserve that. It's important that we preserve that while we focus on two things: the strategic sectors, steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, and we focus on the upcoming review and likely changes to CUSMA. So we are matching something the Americans have done here first. Okay? And it's very significant. It's unique. We get the benefit. The second thing is, and I'll take your analogy. And I have played some hockey over the years. And there is a time in a game, in a big game, and this is a big game, when you go hard in the corners, your elbows up. The time in a game where you drop the gloves in the first period and you send a message. And we've done that pretty uniquely in the world. We happen to have the best deal with the Americans right now. I know. But there's also a time in a game where you want the puck, you want a stick handle, you want to pass, you want to put the puck in the net. And we're moving later into the game, and we're at that time in the game. And that's where the engagement is.
And the German government says that you're going to Berlin next week. Can you tell us why you're going to Europe and what you're hoping to accomplish there?
I'm very much looking forward to meeting with the Chancellor, members of his cabinet, a number of German businesses next week, next Tuesday. And it's picking up on discussions that we have had since we first met in Rome and in April. Subsequently at the G7 and along the way, about how we can deepen our economic and security partnership with Germany, how we can turn the opportunities that exist already under CETA, our free trade agreement with Europe, but also across broader areas, and how we work and develop those. So I have a broader delegation with the Minister of Natural Resources, for example, will be there. The Minister of Defense will be there. The Minister of Industry will come as well, because there's a broad range of areas from critical minerals to energy and defense and security where we are intensifying our discussions with Germany. Many opportunities. As I say, it started in the spring, moves with this meeting. And we have a good partnership. Canada has a good partnership with Germany. It's been built up over the years, but it can be much, much better. And I'm confident that with this Chancellor and the focus of our government, that it will be.
That's Prime Minister Mark Carney in Ottawa. Live news event right now, having a news conference with members of the press gallery in Ottawa. The big announcement is that Canada will remove retaliatory tariffs on some, not all, U.S. products. It's all in a bid to reset trade discussions with Donald Trump. They have stalled in recent weeks. We'll be right back. The latest breaking news is coming up next. This is News Radio.
Now you know with Rob Snow continues on News Radio.
Taking you right now back to a live news event in Ottawa and a news conference from Prime Minister Mark Carney, who just announced Canada is dropping its counter tariffs on American goods covered by the free trade agreement with the United States. This is a live news event on News Radio.
And also,
we will look at, I'll give you three questions. I'll give you a short answer to that, which is that we'll look at everything. We look at our industry, both in terms of how we support their retooling, their investment in the industries, liquidity for today, helping their workers, buying Canadian, diversifying markets, but of course trade policy, including with the United States, is part of that. But we're engaged in discussions with the United States about exactly those sectors. And that's what we want to advance to the benefit of our workers and our economy.
And I'll make this extra follow-up
quick.
very quickly. You're talking about this putting us in a good position in the next phase, presumably the CUSMA negotiations. But as other people have pointed out, we've already folded on the digital services tax. We're taking away these counter tariffs. How is this a position of strength going into those
It's-
negotiations?
We're in a position. First off, I'm in the negotiations, so I have a sense of how the negotiations are. This puts us, and directly the conversation the president and I had yesterday, is that we'll be following up in short order, he and I, on the progress on our discussions. So the teams are engaged, they're re-engaging on this. This helps accelerate that. Look, but it's a negotiation, but there's no guarantees in these things. But the basis of this is we're matching what the United States has done. Okay, we're matching what the United States has done. We're putting ourselves in a position which is consistent with Kuzma, right? And that both clears away an issue with the U.S. The longer it goes on where we're not matching what the U.S. has done. And the U.S., the carve-out, what they call the USMCA carve-out, but effectively is this free trade for 85%. They just made that official. 2 weeks ago, they just made that official with the executive order. So we're responding to that. It's obviously, in our judgment, the right thing to do so we can focus in on those strategic sectors exclusively and also be consistent with Kuzma, where there is going to be, Kuzma in a very different trade environment is going to look different. And what we need to do is to make sure we're focusing in areas that where it's the mutual benefits are very clear. So in other words, the arrangements in strategic sectors are mutually reinforcing. They're mutual benefits. So the agreement supports it, but the economics drives it. And that's the way we move forward. Thank you.
So we have time for two more questions. One will be English, one will be French. We'll start with Olivia Stefanovich from CBC.
Do you have any assurances from the Americans that this will kickstart negotiations? Did President Trump specifically say that in his conversation with you?
Yes.
And what do you say to premiers who have called for stronger retaliatory measures against the U.S.?
Yeah, let me say something general, and then I'll be more specific, which is that I want to salute the premiers, and particularly those, some provinces are affected more than others because of the sectoral nature of these tariffs. And I want to salute those premiers for the collaborative way we've been able to work together and the focus on the workers and the businesses themselves. And there's a combination of support for the workers and businesses, such as we provided in the steel sector, liquidity, capital by Canadian at the federal level, at the provincial level, across, and working in collaboration, for example, in steel with the province of Ontario. In the end, what we all want is to make sure for those strategic sectors that they get fair access to the U.S. market. And what we're doing, again, is matching what the U.S. is doing. That's fair. It's fair to match what they've done. And it puts us in a better position to focus in on exactly those sectors, work forward. So sometimes, to go back to the earlier question, you drop the gloves in the first period. When you're late in the game, dropping the gloves and taking the extra penalty might not be the best thing to do. And that's the situation we're in now.
And our last question will come from Olivier Boisé from TVA.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Premier ministre.
Okay, so let's leave that. We have the gist of it now. That's Prime Minister Mark Carney following a cabinet meeting in Ottawa today and following a telephone conversation that he had with the U.S. President Donald Trump yesterday. The Prime Minister has now announced that Canada will drop its counter tariffs on American goods that are covered by the free trade agreement between the two countries. A White House official telling the Canadian news media that it welcomes that move, calls it long overdue, and that it looks forward to continuing discussions with Canada on the administration's trade and national security concerns. Products that are covered by the Canada-U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement, CUSMA, USMCA, whatever you want to call it, are exempt from the initial slate of border-related levies. Of course, since February, Canada's had a series of countermeasures in place on goods ranging from Florida orange juice to Kentucky bourbon. Counter tariffs on U.S. steel, aluminum, and auto products have also been in place for months, and they will remain in place for now. I'm Rob Snow. That's the latest on that big developing story today. Tom Korski is going to join us next. He's the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. This is News Radio.
There is no question Rob won't get answered.
Now You Know with Rob Snow continues
on News Radio.
Well, he's been minding Ottawa's business all week long. Tom Korski is back with us. He's the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. Welcome back.
Thank you, Rob.
Well, I mean, a noon news conference from the Prime Minister on a Friday is a rarity. This is some pretty big news, though, dropping many of the counter tariffs on American imports into the United States. According to the Prime Minister, we have the best trade deal going with the Americans right now when you look at the United States and its major trading partners. What are your thoughts on what you've heard from the Prime Minister so far, Tom?
Well, you mentioned some of the retaliatory tariffs that were applied to goods. This went back to the 4th of March. $30 billion worth, Cabinet said in the day. Footwear, apparel, coffee, carpets, cooking fat, sweeteners, beer, wine, spirits, building supplies, fixtures, fruit, vegetables. Long, long list, $30 billion. But what was the standard that Cabinet set in the day? This is not ancient history. This is the 3rd of March. Here's the Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland, at the time. I quote her accurately. Capitulation is not a negotiating strategy. Let me be very clear with our American neighbors. If you hit us, we will hit back. Our retaliation will be dollar for dollar, and it is going to really hurt, end of quote. The United States breached an agreement, Canada-United States-Mexico agreement, with tariffs. And they said, Cabinet set that standard. What did Freeland say? We are not going to be intimidated, end of quote. I understand they've had a script change for all the amnesiac stenographers in the press gallery, but this is a hell of a change, excuse my language, Rob.
Okay, so you think, you're saying, I mean, this is a big departure from elbows up, is what you would say, right?
No.
Right.
We must never hear that phrase again.
Right. And he mentioned that. In fact, we have it isolated here. He went on, he talked for, the better part of a minute, using all kinds of hockey analogies. He played hockey, of course. So let's listen to this.
Your critics are going to say that this is an elbows down approach, that you're backing down to Trump. What are you gaining by dropping these tariffs?
So the first thing to say is, let's be clear. We have the best deal of anyone in the world right now. We have the lowest tariff rate on average, a little over 5.5% versus that 16% average for the world, and in many cases much higher. We have that confirmed in an executive order of the president a few weeks ago. It's important that we preserve that. It's important that we preserve that. Well, we focus on two things: the strategic sectors, steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, and we focus on the upcoming review and likely changes to CUSMA. So we are matching something the Americans have done here first. Okay. And it's very significant. It's unique. We get the benefit. The second thing is, and I'll take your analogy. And I have played some hockey over the years. And there is a time in a game, in a big game, and this is a big game, when you go hard in the corners, your elbows up. The time in a game where you drop the gloves in the first period and you send a message. And we've done that pretty uniquely in the world. We happen to have the best deal with the Americans right now.
Okay. We've had our elbows up, Tom. We went into the corners with our elbows up, and we even dropped the gloves in the first period. But I don't know. I guess it's maybe he didn't really get to the point that it's elbows down. He wouldn't go that far and say, no, well, it's elbows down. It was more, we have to preserve what we have. In his mind, we have a good deal with the Americans now, and this is what we have to do in order to try and maintain it.
Yeah, and how unfortunate that this is all happening when Parliament is out of session for its 13-week summer recess, because if there were parliamentarians in, I know that invariably there would be one of them. Here's an oldie but a goodie. Here's his predecessor, Justin Trudeau, on the 4th of March when they announced the $30 billion in retaliatory tariffs. Trump's goal is to destroy the Canadian economy so he can try to annex the country.
Yes.
That seems to be what he wants. I don't know what negotiations we might undertake at the moment, said Trudeau. Carney, numerous times in the election campaign, said they are out to break us. You know, the most...
out to break us so they can own us. Out to break us so they can own us. Yeah.
It was the leader of the Bloc, Yves-Francois Blanchet, who told reporters after the campaign was over, what did he say? This is a good one. It was the threat from the White House and the very clever use of fear in the population by the Liberals who instigated it each time they feared losing ground. Suddenly, the 51st state came back, and there was all this information about Canada's sovereignty, end of quote. I get it. The election's over. They are going to toss concession after concession because they need to score anything that they can call a win. I don't think I'm being unfair, Rob. I'm merely quoting their comments, not ancient history, on the 4th of March, 2025. That was their standard.
Okay. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the other stories that appeared in Blacklock's Reporter this week. I'm Rob Snow. This is Now You Know. This is News Radio.
You have questions.
Now You Know with Rob Snow has the answers.
On News Radio.
We're back with Tom Korski. He's the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter in Ottawa. Well, this is actually a very nice kind of follow-up to what the Prime Minister announced today in the dropping of many of these retaliatory tariffs on U.S. exports into Canada. How much has the Canadian government, Tom, spent on trying to learn how to talk to Americans?
Well, they hired a consultant at $2,000 an hour. This is on the level.
An hour. Oh my God!
This was a contract laid out by the Canadian Embassy in Washington. $2,000 an hour was the talent fee for tips of, for instance, an explainer on right-wing messaging. I read from the contract with the consultant, interview preparation with a conservative slant, right-wing message analysis of the ambassador's TV interviews, end of quote. $2,000 an hour. In addition, another federal agency spent the equivalent of $177,000 to hire a consultant, and the contract was, and I read the title of the contract, to find out how Washington works. We need people with deep expertise, so they had to hire some American consultants. Problem, Rob. We have 13,000 employees in the Department of Foreign Affairs and a fully staffed embassy in Washington. We literally pay them to go to cocktail parties to make contacts so that you don't have to hire a consultant to know how to talk to Americans. A lot of questions here.
Yeah, isn't that something? Isn't that something? Okay. Generation Squeeze. We've talked about this organization before out of the University of British Columbia because it was lobbying the Trudeau government for what has become known as the home equity tax, something that certainly the previous government studied to the tune, I believe it was $500,000 or so, Tom, to study a home equity tax.
$450, that's right.
Because it's almost budget time, they're doing budget consultations right now, and this group, again out of UBC, Generation Squeeze, submitted its wish list for the federal budget. Generation Squeeze really wants to squeeze seniors. Tell us about this.
And how this is their submission to the Commons Finance Committee. We quote this because they have poll with Liberals. In fact, they got the Prime Minister, Trudeau, and the Finance Minister, Freeland, to attend a closed-door conference they had last year after the budget to discuss their fetish about taxing home equity. Now they're going after the old-timers, the graybeards. They want to peel back about $14 billion in seniors' benefits. Is it fair, they ask, that seniors who have household incomes in the six figures receive so much taxpayers' aid. This is a real conundrum for the cabinet, Rob, because old age security costs, according to the chief actuary, are up to $88 billion this year. But can you guess what is the cohort that had the strongest vote for the Liberal Party in the last election?
Exactly.
So
yeah,
it gets really hot real fast.
Yeah, and I mean, show me the politician. I would really like to see them who's going to come up with a winning campaign. Hey, let's cut old age security.
I know. It's highly entertaining.
Right? I wouldn't be measuring the drapes for the office on Parliament Hill if that was going to be my election strategy, running on cutting old age security. There would be a revolt. Look, Tom, thanks for being flexible today, coming on a little later than you normally would and reacting to the breaking news. Great to hear from you. It's a beautiful day ahead of a beautiful weekend in the nation's capital, and I hope you get to enjoy it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, we'll speak soon. That's Tom Korski. He is the managing editor at Blacklock's Reporter. Talkback is coming up right after the news, and we'd love your take on what you think about the news from Prime Minister Mark Carney today that Canada is going to drop many of the retaliatory tariffs that it has on U.S. imports into Canada as an olive branch to the Trump administration in the hopes of getting some tariff relief for Canada and maybe a long-term trade and security deal with the United States. Elbows up, elbows down, or you don't care where the elbows are as long as we can get a deal with the Americans. What do you think? 1-833-668-2577. We'll jump into that topic and many more with your help on the Friday Free-for-All Talkback just ahead on News Radio.
It's time to talk back
On Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now.
And have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to Talkback. It's 2 hours of debate and discussion on the big issues of the day. Today it is the Friday Free-for-All, and that's our favorite day of the week around here. We don't come up with the topics on Friday. We leave that job up to you. So what's on your mind? What do you want to talk about? If you want to talk about something that's been in the news, there's always news. Lots of news today, lots of news this week. If you want to talk about something that you think should be in the news, feel free to raise it here. Whatever it happens to be. Serious? Not so serious? We have a phone line for you. All of our phone lines are open right now. 1-833-668-2577. 1-833-668-2577. If you've never called before, just mention that, and we will make your call a priority. Well, I mean, let's start with the breaking news. What do you think about the big news from Prime Minister Mark Carney today? That Canada will drop most of the retaliatory tariffs that it placed on American imports into Canada as an olive branch to the Trump administration in the hopes of getting tariff relief for Canada and a long-term deal with the United States. This news came after the Prime Minister met with his cabinet today, brought his cabinet members up to date on the developments. We know that Mark Carney had a phone call with Donald Trump yesterday. The two had what they called a constructive conversation, but the counter tariffs, for the most part, are being dropped on with an eye on getting a deal with Donald Trump. What do you think of that? What do you think of that? What does this say about elbows up? Are the elbows still up? Do you view this as elbows down? Do you view this as some kind of capitulation, if you will? Or do you think I don't care about the elbows as long as we can get a deal with Donald Trump? That's what's most important for Canada. The Prime Minister was obviously going to be asked about that. Well, you know, people will say, well, whatever happened to elbows up? And this is what the Prime Minister said to that. Let's listen to that again, Curtis, please.
Your critics are going to say that this is an elbows down approach, that you're backing down to Trump. What are you gaining by dropping these tariffs?
So the first thing to say is, let's be clear. We have the best deal of anyone in the world right now. We have the lowest tariff rate on average, a little over 5.5% versus that 16% average for the world, and in many cases much higher. We have that confirmed in an executive order of the president a few weeks ago. It's important that we preserve that. It's important that we preserve that. Well, we focus on two things: the strategic sectors, steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, and we focus on the upcoming review and likely changes to CUSMA. So we are matching something the Americans have done here first. Okay. And it's very significant. It's unique. We get the benefit. The second thing is, and I'll take your analogy. And I have played some hockey over the years. And there is a time in a game, in a big game, and this is a big game, when you go hard in the corners, your elbows up. The time in a game where you drop the gloves in the first period and you send a message. And we've done that pretty uniquely in the world. We happen to have the best deal with the Americans right now.
Okay. Haven't had the best deal with the Americans right now. I should say that Canadian tariffs on U.S. auto, steel, and aluminum, they'll remain in place for now. But that's how the Prime Minister justified his announcement today. We started getting word of this around 11 o'clock Eastern time, a little more than 2 hours ago, because of a story that appeared on Bloomberg News. And the Prime Minister had his news conference about an hour later, confirmed most of what was in the news report, obviously, because it was leaked from the Prime Minister's office. But no matter. Huge development in a story that has driven so much of the news cycle in this country for the last 8 months. It has had an enormous impact on the economy, an enormous effect on the outcome of the last election. Trump, tariffs, renewed Canadian nationalism, Canadians boycotting American-made goods, not traveling to the United States, elbows up movement, the 51st state, all of that stuff. And now here we have the Prime Minister saying we are taking down many of our counter tariffs because we need a breakthrough with Donald Trump. How do you view this? Positive development? If it gets a deal done with our most important trading partner, the United States, most important economy in the world, or a defeat, an admission of failure from the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. 1-833-668-2577. One of many things we can discuss today. And in fact, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about because it is our Friday free-for-all. Let's go to Walter up first today on the Friday free-for-all. Walter is in Red Deer, Alberta. Hello, Walter.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
You can hear me? Okay, good. I just had to speak up. Hey,
okay.
I can't take it anymore. Right?
Can't take what?
Well, the way that they're handling this thing is so wrong. It's just unbelievably wrong, right?
Okay.
If you look
what has
at
you all worked
Mark
up,
Carney,
Walter?
Oh, I'm telling you, I'm on fire, right? The Mark Carney, if you look at him since he got elected, he hasn't kept one bit of his words. He's a liar like Donald Trump. If you look at the person that put the tariffs against the United States, it was Trudeau in his last week before he left office. Mark Carney's done absolutely nothing. Nothing. Check it out. See if I'm right. I know I'm right. The thing is, that's just part of it. The other part is this. You can't negotiate with an aggressor. You can't talk to a schoolyard bully. Once the bully's got a victim, he just keeps going at it. Any soft talking and all that stuff, the bully just sees it as a weakness and attacks more. History shows, thousands and thousands of years show that you can't appease an aggressor.
Is that how you view this? Is this appeasement? Is this appeasement by Prime Minister Carney to Donald Trump? Is that how you view it?
Well, it's Donald Trump. It's Carney weakness.
Carney's weakness. Okay.
Scared. He's scared, right? And so he's giving it. If you go back, I'm just going to give you a couple of people that dealt with aggressors in history. One was Churchill. Before Churchill turned around and got put into office, there was a guy called Chamberlain.
Neville
Chamberlain.
He talked. Sure.
He
okay,
talked.
so you think this is like a Chamberlain moment for Mark Carney? that he is
Exactly.
appeasing an
And-
aggressor.
and-
Okay, thank you. We've got to go. Thank you. You've got us off to a good start, though. I understand your point of view. I think the listeners do too. That's one point of view. Maybe it's a popular one today. We're open to hearing any and all of them at 1-833-668-2577 or any other topic for that matter on the Friday Free for All Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
So our Friday Free for All Talkback. So we are wide open. The Prime Minister in his announcement about dropping retaliatory tariffs on U.S. imports into this country. That's the big story today in Canada. If you want to jump in on that, feel free to do so. If you want to jump in on something else entirely, by all means, go ahead. Let's go to Eric is in Halifax today. Hi, Eric.
Hey, Trump. How's it going today, Rob?
Yeah, everything's good today, Eric. What's
Yeah,
up?
well, I'm going to give you 4 points of this disaster that happened about an hour ago. First of all,
Okay.
I'd like to know why. Secondly, why are we sucking up to that man? Thirdly, I wouldn't trust Trump to save my soul. And last but not least, I don't think Carney has both oars in the water.
Why do you say that?
Well, he's sucking up to him. I mean, what's he plan to get out of this? I mean, Trump's already shown his cards. I mean, Carney's got none. Carney's not playing with a full deck.
Okay. Well, what he said at the beginning is when you look at the agreements that the Americans have signed since Trump announced his tariff war, not just with Canada, but with countries all over the world, is that other countries have had to face the reality that they have to pay to get access to the biggest economy in the world, the United States, and that they're paying more right now than Canada is. That when you take everything that is up for consideration in the tariff fold right now, most of these countries are paying 15% tariffs to export their goods in the United States, but the average for Canada, I think he said, is closer to 5 or 6%, and they want to keep it that way, and they want to work on getting a long-term deal done along the lines of USMCA or CUSMA. That we have it pretty good right now.
Well,
that's how he defends it. That's how he defends it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with certain things you just said, but I'll believe it when I see it. Like I said at the top, I wouldn't trust Trump as far as I could throw him, and that's the bottom line here.
Right.
You trust that man, you ain't playing with a full deck.
Okay. But again, you view this as a kind of a climb down for Carney from the elbows up days.
Yeah.
You do.
He's going into the corner. He got no elbows. I mean, he's just saying this so we can, buy it and, hoping that it goes away. I say this is not going away. This is just a stalling tactic, and it's all in favor of Trump.
Okay. All right. You've had your say, Eric. Thank you for weighing in on that topic. Let's go to Tom. I think we have Tom on the line from Halifax as well today. Hi, Tom.
I am here, yes.
Yes, good to hear from you, sir.
Really, 2 things to say. One, with regard to on the front end advertisement about seniors and old age and all of that.
Yes.
I am old. I'm almost 75 and still working.
Yeah.
And to beat me up with that would be pure poison. And I would not ever accept that. However, with regard to dealing with Trump, Lord, I mean, the man he lies like a rug.
Okay.
And you got to do the best you can with, from my perspective, an idiot. So how do you do that? You got to placate some, because obviously, if you are grossly aggressive, he becomes more aggressive. And in our situation here, we have a limited way to deal with that kind of thing, given the size of his economy and ours.
Sure.
And to try to find a reasonable average is what you have to do. You can't beat up the bully where you don't have any forces to be able to do that.
Okay. Do you view this as kind of a capitulation or a surrender in any way by Carney to Trump?
I think
like the previous callers have.
I know. No. I mean,
you don't.
He's trying to quote unquote negotiate with an idiot. And when you're negotiating with an idiot, then you got to use whatever card you have. And that's the card that he had. So he done what he had to do to try to placate somewhat and make it move on to something better, maybe. But like I said, Trump lies like a rug, and
can't be trusted.
what he agrees to today goes away tomorrow.
Okay, thank you, sir, for calling today. We've got to run. Thank you. It's the Friday Free for All Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Oh, it's not just any Talkback. It's the Friday Free for All Talkback. Marcel is up next, calling from Calgary. Hi, Marcel.
Hello, Rob. Good morning.
Yeah, hi there, Marcel. What's on your mind?
This morning is a very bad day for Canada. And I'll tell you why. It's not for what most people think. It's the way Canadians are thinking about this. Once again, they've been fooled completely. Trump has been a tariff man for a long time. He looks after his country, and it was not against just Canada. It was against the world because he wanted to change the way trade is done around the world. We've played the whole game badly, and we've been fooled, and they've used it for an election. Now, Carney is going to just capitulate because he has nothing. When people talk about cards, we don't have any cards. Canada's membership in the G7 now is a mirage. I mean, we can't deal on anything. Our productivity is down. We can't produce anything. We've lost $750 billion worth of energy that could have gone to Europe because our climate change policies. Canada is not a country that can rival anybody in the G7 anymore. Now we've got Carney who's got to continue and perhaps even make things worse than Trudeau, and we are going to have to buy this because of the 51st state. Canada has got a huge inferiority complex, and we are going to pay dearly for it. And I'm afraid that today is a complete capitulation that Canada should have understood way before the election, that Trump will do something, and it will be for his country first, not for Canada. We have the USMCA or CUSMA, whatever we want to talk about, which was there. We should have made negotiations within that framework as opposed to retaliate. Then we have a goofball in Ontario who's working with Carney, who has absolutely no idea what retaliation would do, and is going to completely change things again if we continue to believe in this particular new government and every progressive conservative in this country.
What if it leads to a breakthrough? This is our most important trading relationship. By far, nothing even compares. They're right next door, the United States, most important economy in the world, most dynamic economy in the world, 10 times our size. Wouldn't it be a positive development if this lowers the temperature?
No. It is a positive. No. I'm saying to you that it is positive that we have an entry into a negotiation. But the retaliation was not supposed to happen in the first place.
We shouldn't have done it in the first place, you're saying?
Absolutely. The retaliation was a joke because in the end, we knew that we would have had to negotiate down the road anyway because USMCA or Kuzma is happening very soon anyway.
Yeah, it's coming up for review next year. Yeah,
and
you're right there.
Yeah.
You're right. The big mistake was retaliating in the first place, you're saying.
Absolutely.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. And gotta run. Thank you. Love the passionate opinions today. Keep them coming. And if you want to switch gears and go in another direction, it is our Friday free for all. But this is this is a major development today on a huge story that's consumed not only the news cycle for months, but has been the talk of Canada for just as long. I'm Rob Snow. It's Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
It's a Friday free-for-all talkback, so we are wide open on topics. You can bring up whatever topic you want to talk about, but certainly the news of the day is that Canada, according to Prime Minister Mark Carney, who announced this at a news conference in Ottawa about an hour ago, said Canada is going to drop many of the retaliatory tariffs that the U.S. That Canada's imposed on U.S. imports into Canada. It's kind of an olive branch to the Trump administration in the hopes of getting a long-term trade and security agreement with the Americans. That has so far been the big topic of discussion today on Talkback. Elbows up, elbows down, capitulation. Don't care about the elbows as long as we can get a deal with the Americans. What's your opinion on that one? If you want to weigh in on that, feel free. Jody is up next. Thanks for calling. Jody, you're on the air. What do you want to talk about?
Hey, Rob. Excuse me. I just want to talk about the incident in Florida where that truck driver killed 3 people.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. Yeah, did an illegal U-turn, right? And
exactly, yeah. And he was he was an illegal immigrant. It was like, and anyway, can I read this quote from today from Secretary Marco Rubio? It's real fast.
Marco Rubio, okay, yeah.
Okay. It says, effective immediately, we are pausing all insurance of worker visas for commercial truck drivers. The increasing number of foreign drivers operating large tractor-trailer trucks in the United States roads are endangering American lives and undercutting the livelihoods of American truckers. I think that Canada should do the same thing.
Why is that? Why do you think that?
Well, I look at the Humboldt disaster 2 or 3 years ago, where all those players were killed, and that driver had
longer ago than that.
He wasn't trained properly. And I do work in the industry. I'm not a truck driver, but I do work in the industry. I offload trailers like 53 footers, 48 footers, and I see these drivers coming in, and they have no idea what they're doing. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And I think that Canada should do the same thing because there's going to be another disaster happening. So I mean, probably in the near future because these guys don't know what the hell they're doing on the roads. And what happened in Florida was totally disgusting.
Okay, so you would like us to kind of follow suit and start digging into it and investigating, say, temporary foreign workers or whatever in the trucking industry. Right?
Exactly, because like this guy in Florida, how did he even get a Class 1 license? Like,
I don't know. I don't have any idea.
Like, I mean, you should look at the story because it was gross. Like the guy did a U-turn on a turnpike in Florida. A minivan was driving and crashed right into the trailer. The guy didn't make it. Like he just looked like nothing happened at all, whatever. And he was an illegal immigrant to start off with. And this stuff is happening like more than usual. Like, how's that the Canadian media is not reporting this?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, you're reporting it right now on Talkback, Jody. Thank you for bringing that up, sharing your opinion. Let's go to Miles. Is in Waterloo today. Hi, Miles. You're on the air. What's on your mind, Miles? Oh, Robert. Okay. All right. Robert in Calgary. Robert, thank you for calling.
Robert here.
Yeah. Go ahead, Robert.
This goes back about a week ago. You had, I guess it's Professor Lee on, and
sure.
One of the things he covered had to do with old age security payments.
Yes.
And I remember him saying we should have a system where old age security is means tested, and if you're above a certain income, you don't get it.
Yeah, he said it should. He said it should be like the guaranteed income supplement, which was brought in after old age security, and that's a supplement to top up the income of the poor seniors.
Yeah, but he also said old age security should work that way, and he was putting a dollar value a little over 100,000 in there. We already have that. If you make over 90, I think that's about 90,000 a year.
It's $90,997. That's when they start clawing back OAS, and it's $180,000 for a couple.
Yeah, and when you hit about 130,000, it's gone completely.
Okay.
And I'm not sure about that couple number you're using. Well, it might be, but I had mine all clawed back a couple of years ago when I sold my business.
Okay.
Yeah, I sold my business, and they clawed mine back in completely.
Right. I gotcha. Okay.
Anyways, and one other thing, you a few minutes ago were talking about the tariffs and said something along the line of, that's the price. We have to pay to have access to that market, and
well, that's what the Prime Minister said today. That's what the Prime Minister said today.
Okay, because it seems to perpetuate what Trump tries to perpetuate, that a tariff is paid by the exporter, not the importer. We don't pay anything to get our goods into the U.S. Whoever imports them does, and it didn't come across that way to me.
Okay, well, I was just echoing what the Prime Minister said, and if it makes our products less competitive in the American market, so that it reduces our exports, then you could kind of view that as a price to pay, right?
A price to pay, but I had the impression it was
economic price. No, that's not what he meant. There's an economic price to pay.
Right. Yeah, that I can agree with.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know that you can do anything about it. Trump's reneged on every agreement he's ever made with anyone, as far as I can see. So why even make one with him?
Yeah, I guess the question to me, and I think for a lot of the listeners, is what happened to elbows up? What happened to he wants to beat us so he can own us, or destroy us so he can own us, and the whole elbows up and this whole sense of renewed Canadian patriotism and everything. And now some of the callers are viewing this as, well, a capitulation and the price of doing business in Trump's world. A big climb down for Mark Carney. Do you view it that way at all?
I've never really thought that one through, so I don't quite have a view on that one.
Well, yeah, that's okay. It only happened. You're forgiven. It only happened an hour ago, sir. So we're all kind of taking it in as we go here. So thank you for your call today on Talkback. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday, free-for-all Talkback. Have your say on any topic, although Carney and retaliatory tariffs, the dominant topic of discussion today. Let's go to Terry. Terry's near Edmonton, Alberta today. Hello, Terry. You're up next.
Hi, Rob.
Hi there.
Couple of weeks ago, you expressed your opinion regarding bike lanes in, I believe it was Edmonton and Toronto, about how municipal or provinces were getting involved in financing. Hey, Rob, can I use an analogy for you?
Provinces are exerting their authority in kind of what would normally be kind of a local planning issue, like bike lanes are kind of a local traffic issue. Doug Ford's going to court over them. Tim Houston in Nova Scotia is throwing his weight around because he doesn't like where bike lanes are going in Halifax, and I know the Smith government is meddling in this kind of stuff in both Calgary and in Edmonton, if I'm not mistaken, in the municipal election year in your province, right? So,
right. Now, Rob, can I use an analogy? And I don't know if this is going to be applicable to you or not, but if you lent money to your children, for example, one of your boy or girl, and they built a home, so you lent them a down payment or a deposit to get the house built, and you didn't go and look at it till it was all completed, and you showed up one day and your child went out and bought a gold toilet and stuck it in there, would you be happy?
No, I wouldn't be too happy with that. No. Right. Is that how you view bike lanes? Is that how you view bike lanes?
No, I was just using that as an analogy, because when the province of Alberta give Calgary $300 and some million for upgrading their utilities to finance a new arena, where did that money all come from? And I personally think there should be some involvement when the percentage of bikers that actually use the system. I'm not saying that it should be discounted totally, but when you take a lane away from traffic, and with the population increase that we have in Toronto and all these other cities, including Edmonton and Calgary, where you can hardly walk on the sidewalk, this is where the problems arise. And I personally think there should be involvement by the financier regarding a system that does this. So think about my gold toilet thing next time.
Okay. All right. No, fair enough. Fair enough. I'll talk bike lanes. I could talk bike lanes all day. I covered the city hall in Ottawa for a long time. So, and believe me, bike lanes were a hot issue there, a big factor in the last Ottawa municipal election. As a matter of fact, the left-wing candidate lost because they wanted to spend $250 million on bike lanes. Can you imagine, in one city? So yeah, I know the bike lane debate pretty well, no matter what city you're in. Thank you, Terry, near Edmonton. Gordon in Strathmore, Alberta. Hello, Gordon.
How you doing?
Good, Gordon. Thank you.
Okay. Question.
What's on your mind today?
We're getting hammered because.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Sorry, you dropped out there, Gordon. Yeah. What's on your mind, Gordon? Sorry.
Okay. These tariffs, we're getting hammered by the Chinese on the canola and the peas, all mainly because of EVs. All right.
Yes.
All right. Let the EVs come in, because they're going to be just like the Chinese quads. Everybody's going to buy them because they're cheap. But when they realize that the reason they are cheap is they're not put together right, and then nobody will buy them. So let them come in. Let the consumer decide if it's worth buying a cheap product that doesn't last. And it seems like Carney, all he's looking out for is the automotive industry, and to heck with the agriculture, because agriculture does not give him very many votes. And it's been that way for years. And we're getting hammered because China does not want any type of Canadian canola or the peas. And those are big markets.
Oh, yes, sir. Yeah.
You never hear about that in newspapers and the big front pages. No,
you know what? I was gonna, you know what? Until all of this Carney stuff happened today with Trump and the tariffs, that was going to be my lead story today, was the canola tariff situation.
And the peas.
Yeah, because Premier Mo is going to China, and he wants Carney to get directly involved. Carney knows Xi in China, and he wants Carney to get directly involved and have direct talks and resolve this situation. This is a $43 billion industry. 200,000 people are employed in this industry.
Well, not only that, but the farmer's the worst guy for money. If he's got some coin in his pocket, he'll go out and buy something different. Maybe a new truck, maybe a new tractor, something like that. So that keeps the industrial people going.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you know, and the thing is, you know, you don't hear too much about it. You know, when there's tariff news in the United States and it affects an industry like the auto industry or the steel industry or the aluminum industry, which is huge in Quebec, softwood lumber in British Columbia. I mean, there's Carney in front of a microphone saying, you know, announcing some kind of assistance package. And so far, the only assistance really that's being given to, say, Western Canadian farmers growing canola is, well, we have money to lend you. And the farmer is like, well, I don't want to borrow any more money. I just need this tariff issue resolved. I mean, that's the big issue right now, right?
It still has to be paid back. We're not.
Yeah. I'm already up to my eyes in debt. The last thing I need is, you know, to go deeper in debt. Okay, thank you for bringing that that up today. Important story. Yeah. Be right back on Talkback. Very busy today. Friday free for all Talkback. We'll go in whatever direction you want to go in. We can talk tariffs. We can talk bike lanes. We can talk cash crops. Whatever you want to talk about today. It's News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
It's a Friday free for all Talkback. The dominant issue today, big news story, is Mark Carney's announcement. The Prime Minister announcing about 2 hours ago now that Canada's going to drop a lot of the retaliatory tariffs that it had on U.S. imports into Canada as an olive branch to the Trump administration. Some of those tariffs are going to remain in effect. Steel, aluminum, and tariffs on U.S. autos, U.S. exports into Canada. Those tariffs will remain, but most of the other ones will be dropped. So we've been monitoring what's been going on in Washington. Donald Trump was to meet the media, and he did make, I think he commented for about a minute or so on the Mark Carney news. Let's listen to that.
A very good call with Prime Minister Carney of Canada yesterday morning.
Yes.
Actually, Canada is taking away some retaliatory tariffs.
He's removing his tariffs, yeah.
Exactly.
He's removing his retaliatory tariffs, which I thought was nice. And we're going to have another call soon. Okay. Yeah, we had a very good call.
You're getting closer towards an agreement on trade?
I like them. You know, look, I'm fighting for the United States. Canada and Mexico have taken a lot of our business over the years, over 25, 30 years. Especially during the Biden years. They took a lot of our business, and it's basically all coming back into the United States now. Well, hot as a pistol, and it's coming back in. Because of tariffs and the incentives we give, it's coming back. And it's impossible, I think, for another country to stop it. And we are working on something. We want to be very good to Canada. I like Carney a lot. I think he's a good person. And we had a very good talk yesterday, so I think it'll be good.
Mr. President. Okay. I like him a lot. We had a good call yesterday. We'll speak again soon, and we're working on something. Donald Trump on the Carney news today. Just to bring you right up to date. Mike in Kincardine. Mike. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Rob. How are you?
I'm just doing? Great. What's on your mind, Mike?
I am very disappointed with Mark Carney right now.
Okay.
Because he got nothing. He got nothing, Rob. Absolutely nothing in return.
Okay.
He's acting like a CEO, talking about themes like, oh, we're going to diversify our trade. Oh, we're going to be tough. Oh, we're going to do that. I spent 43 years in the IT and process automation area, mainly in the steel industry, right? And we used to have CEOs like that and COOs like that. They would talk about themes, visions, and stuff like that. And some of the people that reported to me during that time used to call him the Bohica man. You know what a Bohica is, Rob?
No, I don't know that term. No.
Bend over, here it comes again. Because basically, Carney gave up he folded up like a pup tent. Where's this toughness? Where's this thing? Where's this carrot and stick approach? He's nothing. And you know what? He keeps talking about, oh, we're diversifying our trade. We're going to build nation-building projects. Where are they? He could have announced this is what we're looking into, and he hasn't. He's an absolute failure, and I regret voting for him.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Mike, for having your say on the Friday Free for All Talkback. Well, hour number one flew by, but there's a full hour just ahead. Talk about the Carney news today and tariffs or anything else that you want to get into today. I'm Rob Snow, back right after the latest breaking news on News Radio.
It's time to talk back
on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Call now
and have your say.
1-833-668-2577.
Welcome to hour number two of Talkback. It is our Friday free for all. We are wide open on topics and more than happy to follow your lead. We have been talking a lot, however, with our callers about the news from Prime Minister Mark Carney today that Canada is dropping many of the retaliatory tariffs that it has on American imports into Canada. as an olive branch to the Trump administration in the hopes of getting some tariff relief for Canada or achieving a long-term breakthrough on something like USMCA or CUSMA, the free trade deal involving Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Prime Minister Carney had a news conference coming up on about 2 hours now. This followed a cabinet meeting in Ottawa today and a phone call that Mark Carney had with Donald Trump yesterday. Mark Carney was asked today, what does this mean for elbows up? But let's listen to that.
Your critics are going to say that this is an elbows down approach, that you're backing down to Trump. What are you gaining by dropping these tariffs?
So the first thing to say is, let's be clear. We have the best deal of anyone in the world right now. We have the lowest tariff rate on average, a little over 5.5% versus that 16% average for the world, and in many cases much higher. We have that confirmed in an executive order of the president a few weeks ago. It's important that we preserve that. It's important that we preserve that. Well, we focus on two things: the strategic sectors, steel, aluminum, autos, lumber, and we focus on the upcoming review and likely changes to CUSMA. So we are matching something the Americans have done here first. Okay. And it's very significant. It's unique. We get the benefit. The second thing is, and I'll take your analogy. And I have played some hockey over the years. And there is a time in a game, in a big game, and this is a big game, when you go hard in the corners, your elbows up. The time in a game where you drop the gloves in the first period and you send a message. And we've done that pretty uniquely in the world. We happen to have the best deal with the Americans right now.
Okay. So a good deal, but not the best deal with the Americans right now. Mark Carney explaining this latest decision to drop many of the retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods coming into Canada. Within the last half hour or so, Donald Trump was meeting the media in the White House in Washington, D.C., and he was asked about his phone call yesterday with Mark Carney.
A very good call with Prime Minister Carney of Canada yesterday morning.
Yes.
Actually, Canada is taking away some retaliatory tariffs.
He's removing his tariffs, yeah.
Exactly.
He's removing his retaliatory tariffs, which I thought was nice. And we're going to have another call soon. Okay. Yeah, we had a very good call.
You're getting closer towards an
agreement
on trade?
I like him. Look, I'm fighting for the United States. Canada and Mexico have taken a lot of our business over the years, over 25, 30 years, especially during the Biden years. They took a lot of our business, and it's basically all coming back into the United States now. Well, hot as a pistol, and it's coming back in. Because of tariffs and the incentives we give, it's coming back. And it's impossible, I think, for another country to stop it. And we are working on something. We want to be very good to Canada. I like Carney a lot. I think he's a good person. And we had a very good talk yesterday. So I think it'll be good.
Mr. President.
I like him a lot. We're going to speak again soon, and we're working on something. Was the thrust of the answer from Donald Trump. Would love to know what you think about this development today. It's a major development in a story that's consumed Canada for many months. Elbows up, elbows down, capitulation. How do you view this, or do you not care about elbows? This is our most important trading relationship, the United States. And it's important to get a long-term deal done with the Trump administration. That's what's most important for Canada. Just how do you view this? How do you view this right now? 1-833-668-2577 to have your say on Talkback today. Wade is up first in hour number 2. Wade's in Sylvan Lake, Alberta. Hello, Sylvan Lake. Wade.
Rob, how are you today?
Just very good, Wade. Thank you. What's on your mind?
Good. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sick of hearing Carney talk and say nothing. But okay. I have another dilemma that maybe you can help me with. As you know, I'm fully into Alberta independence.
Yes.
And I've been running around the province with the Alberta Prosperity Project. Tonight will be my 32nd meeting that I've gone to as a permanent volunteer, just helping out, putting up flags and stuff like that. Anyways, so I've tried talking to people that are against it, and the conversation, it starts out, it's like, so what do you know about the Alberta Prosperity Project? Oh, not much. Why? What's it about? And I say, well, it's about Alberta independence. And they're like, nope. And then they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk politics. And they're nasty. These people are nasty. I was up in town here. I've lived here for 30 years. I had 3 guys the other day that I know. I don't know them well, but I know their faces. They called me anti-Albertan. And these people, they're just mad. And they're nasty, and it seems like every single one of them, and nobody wants to talk about it. And I've asked them the question, and I was wondering if there's anybody that's listening that could give me an answer to my question. Can anybody give me a reason a reason that how Alberta staying in Canada would benefit every Albertan? Because I can give you at least 4 reasons why Alberta becoming independent would benefit every Albertan. It wouldn't matter your age, where you're from, your nationality, nothing. And I can't seem to get an answer.
All right.
Can you help me?
It's out there for public discussion. I can help you just by throwing it out there. That's all I'll do with that one. Thank you. So, Wade, and have a nice weekend. Hope people are friendlier to you. Friday Free for All Talkback, hour number 2 here, underway. Have your say. Join the discussion, start one of your own. This is News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Friday Free for All Talkback, wide open today. Pick a topic, we'll roll with it. Carney, tariffs, Trump, that's been the big one today with the big development in that story, dropping retaliatory tariffs. But let's go to John in Halifax. Hi, John. Thanks for calling.
How you doing, Rob?
Very good, John. Thank you. Just great.
Just wondering if you could explain something to me. Right now, with the tariffs on there, it's costing a certain amount of people in Canada more to buy things from the States.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. Well, actually, sorry, it's the opposite. The States it's costing them more to buy from us on certain products because they paid for the tariff. They're taxed on their money for the tariff, right? So if they charge 35% for the American consumer to buy more products from Canada, it's going to cost them more. So if I put down a retaliatory charge, all it's doing is tapping into the rest of Canadians to cost them more to buy things from the States, right?
Sound right so far,
by getting in this war with them, we're going to lose. I mean, there are 430 million people, we're 40 million. Our best way to do it is to handle it by taking off the retaliatory tariffs, so at least the people that are buying from the States are not getting dinged again. Now, with this said, when it comes to trying to deal with Trump, you just gotta play a wait. You gotta take it easy, let him go off with his rants and everything else. You know what I mean? And he's gonna fold. He will fold. No doubt. If you watch and see from previous years, he always folded, right? And
so you believe in this line that they have for him on Wall Street, Taco Trump. Trump always chickens out. You think Trump will?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He's playing on our fears. He's playing on our fears, and he talks fear in the news. But what he does in real life is totally different, right? And that's something that people don't have to realize. That people have to realize that Trump is he's an idiot. Everyone said it already, right? Now with this Albertan thing, Alberta was not always prosperous, right? They needed help. They needed help over the years. Now, you think the resource is going to always be there? No. Does people want to haul the material out of the ground? A lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. And usually the people that don't are the ones that are win, like especially with Trudeau. I did not care for that. I like to see the taps open up, right? Until we figure out what's the best product to use, like an EV or whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand. I can understand the sentiment of people like Wade. And I don't discount it at all. It's probably about 25%. I think of Albertans right now are in support of separatism. It's about as high. It's about as high in Alberta as it is in the bastion of separatism in the province of Quebec, and they feel as though Confederation hasn't been working for them. And certainly after 9 years of Trudeau and all the policies that were put in place, no pipelines law, West Coast tanker ban, emissions cap, greenwashing law, all of this stuff. How would people feel in any part of the country? What if a federal government had the same kind of policies that were so punitive, say, to the auto sector in Ontario, or the aluminum sector in Quebec, or the aerospace sector in Quebec, or the fishery in Atlantic Canada? They wouldn't stand for it, right? So of course there's going to be blowback against that. It's so inevitable.
Yeah, I understand totally. Especially when it comes to the agriculture, why aren't they helping them? Why aren't they? They forgive everything else. The other big companies and big business, right? But for some reason, it doesn't make sense. But Trudeau shut everything down. Carney, hopefully, he will open up the floodgates, pipelines across Canada. Projects in, and we'll wait it out until Trump's gone.
Okay. We're going to find out, I guess, maybe in the next few months, because they're working right now. They're going to open this office in Ottawa that is supposed to be looking at projects in the national interest. But I'm telling you, if they release a list of projects in the national interest, and a pipeline is not deemed to be a project in the national interest, whether that's what they're calling Trans Mountain 2.0, which would go from Alberta, say, to Prince Rupert in northern British Columbia, or something that resembles, an Energy East pipeline that TransCanada was working on before it spent $1 billion and pulled up stakes 7 years ago to get energy from northern Alberta to Atlantic Canada, endpoint the Irving Refinery in St. John, New Brunswick. If there's not something like that on the list, there's going to be a lot of pushback in Western Canada.
One thing I like to mention.
All right. I'm sorry. Sorry. We're right out of time.
Kuzma 85% is already taken care of.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your call. Appreciate your thoughts and for being passionate about the issues and caring about the country. Be right back on Talkback. Lots of time to fit you in here on a Friday. 1-833-668-2577 on the Friday free-for-all. It's News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
It sure is. Friday free-for-all. Talkback. So pick a topic and we'll do our best to follow along. Let's go to John up next in Calgary today. Great to hear from you today, John. What's on your mind?
Great show as always, Rob. I'd just like to apologize to everybody else in Canada for the behavior of Alberta and this whole separatist thing. You're absolutely right. We do need to see energy corridor with pipeline in it. Certainly that's a point of frustration. You had an earlier caller that sort of said, name 4 reasons. There's 100 reasons why Alberta should remain in Canada. No one should want to be separatist, but it does point out that there's frustration and anger, but mostly around the amount of money Alberta believes it's passing to the rest of the country and the lack of the pipeline. So we solve the pipeline, everybody wins. Rising tide raises all boats.
Okay. Anything else on your mind today, John?
Yeah, I'm really happy about Carney and the tariffs. It's the right decision. You know, at the end of the day, we want to lower the temperature. Thanks for the show.
Okay. Well, okay, John. Thank you for your call. Short and sweet with John. Let's go to Mike in Calgary. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, my pleasure, Mike. What's on your mind today?
I have to agree 100% with the previous caller there, both in terms of Alberta. There's no doubt that if the federal government can not only set it up, but actually push towards an east-west pipeline, west-to-east pipeline, so that we displace U.S. imported oil with Alberta and Saskatchewan oil, that would be great. And it would alleviate a lot of the problems that Albertans think of when they're addressing the government of Canada.
Okay.
As for Carney, I'm not a big fan of the Liberal Party, but this is one move that he's done right. If you look at negotiations, you usually have to take into account the other side in your negotiations. And by removing the irritant, the countervailing duties, you open up the door to some serious discussion, and I think that they can come up with a solution pretty quick.
Okay. We've heard from callers today who are really disappointed in Mark Carney today. They view some of them said this is like appeasement. This is like capitulation. This is like throwing in the towel. This is giving up to a bully. What do you think of that on the retaliatory tariffs?
Well, Rob, as someone who's had to do a lot of negotiations over the years in various parts of the world, I can tell you that negotiations are difficult, and normally the successful negotiations do not take place in public. So that we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. But the fact that Carney is removing the countervailing duties means that they're getting very much closer to an agreement.
Okay. And you know, Mr. Trump said, I like him a lot. I had a good talk. We're going to talk again soon, and we're working on something. That was Trump in the White House today. So maybe that's a positive.
Well, you know, he's a person who puts a lot of emphasis on personal relationships, sometimes to his detriment, but nonetheless, that's the way he seems to operate. And I think that if we're patient, the government of Canada need to get this addressed rather quickly, because when they come back to Parliament, they have to table a new budget. And it's going to be very difficult to table a new budget unless you know what your trade agreement with the U.S. is.
Oh, that's a very good point. Thank you for your call, Mike. Great points all around. Yeah, really well thought out there. The latest breaking news coming up next, and then more of your calls on the Friday Free-for-All Talkback on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Yep, in the home stretch of Talkback, Friday Free-for-All Talkback, wide open. We follow your lead on Fridays. Very busy on the Carney-Trump tariff issue, but if there's something else you want to raise, by all means. Johnny up first-time caller calling from Calgary. Hi, Johnny.
Yes, thank you so much for taking my call. I have a question before I make a comment, but even before that, I have made an observation by listening to your show on a regular basis. Do you agree that 95% of your callers, they are white, male, over the age of 60, and is that something that bothers you, or it doesn't bother you that only certain demographic of the people are calling your show?
It doesn't bother me. Who calls the show, sir? It doesn't, not discriminating. The show's wide open. Anybody of any age, any color, any creed can call.
Yeah, I am in my 30s. And
That's
probably
fine.
I am one of the very few people calls your show. I mean, I am calling for the first time, and I was just amazed that people under the age of 60 do not call on a regular basis. But anyhow, this is just an observation. Okay. I thought I should maybe bring to your attention that if this is something you have noticed or not.
Oh, well, sure. It's always been like that in talk radio, that it's a little bit older, a little bit more conservative. That's nothing new. Yeah.
I have a question, and
Does it bother you? It doesn't bother me, but it doesn't bother me. Does it bother you?
No, I'm just making observation that, I haven't heard on your show anybody in their 20s or 30s or 40s.
Well, maybe you're not listening enough, because we take calls from people who are that age all the time. We were talking about millennial and Gen Z issues last week, the week before. Took all kinds of calls from people in that age group.
No, I am not criticizing you or the show at all. I'm just making an observation, and that's all. I'm going to leave it at that. But I have a question. Have you noticed that Pierre Poilievre, the leader of the Conservative Party, never talks about his religion, what he believes, and there is no observation that he even goes to church? Do you know by any chance what is his belief, what religion he belongs? Because we know for sure Justin Trudeau is a Catholic. We know for sure Mark Carney is either Catholic or belongs to some Christian denomination.
He's a Catholic, yeah. Apparently a devout Roman Catholic, yeah. Goes to Mass and everything.
And, and Elizabeth May must be, again, either Catholic or belong to some denomination. And
I think she's united. I think she's she was even ordained at one point, Elizabeth May. Yeah.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. And Jagmeet Singh, the former NDP leader, didn't hide his religion. Everybody knows he's a Punjabi Sikh. But Pierre Poilievre has been enigma for many people. That what is his belief? What is your take on that?
Well, I believe Pierre Poilievre is a Christian. Whether he was baptized into a Christian church, I don't know. What denomination of Christianity is he? I don't know. I believe him to be Protestant. I don't know if he's Catholic. I really don't know. And quite frankly, I really don't care, unless his religious beliefs start dictating, say, his political promises or his political policies. Then it would be of some concern to me.
Well, the reason I'm asking, because it has been made observation by many people, including myself, that he has never been seen to go to any church. He has never talked about belonging to any church. He has never provided any conviction in any church. In fact, being in Calgary myself, we are hearing he's not even a Christian. He is a devoted Jewish Orthodox, and all his associates here in Calgary were Jewish Orthodox, and he has extreme opinion of being right-wing Jewish, pro-Israeli, against any Arab.
Well, I don't think Pierre Poilievre is Jewish, let alone Orthodox, being an Orthodox Jew. So I don't believe that to be the case. But Pierre Poilievre has a very long track record in politics of being a staunch defender of Israel. And people, I think, can take it or leave it. Some people don't like that he's a staunch defender of Israel.
Okay? And his former boss, Stephen Harper, was the same.
Was the same way. Category. Stephen Harper made a speech in the Knesset, sir, in the Israeli parliament.
Exactly. Yeah. And if I may, the last point I would like to make, regardless of his religious background or belief, totally regardless of that, Pierre Poilievre has brought the Conservative Party of Canada so much to the extreme right that, in my opinion, there is no way if he continued to be the leader of this party, and if they don't sack him in January, and I'm sorry if I'm using a frank word, they will not ever form a government in this country.
Fair enough. A lot of people believe what you believe, but I would like to challenge that a little bit, if you don't mind. What makes it extreme right? For example, is he opposed to marriage equality? Has he said anything about being against gay rights? Has he come out and said he would change in any way the abortion laws? No, he has not said that. In fact, his own personal belief, he has expressed that. He has said he's pro-choice, but that he wouldn't, if he ever became prime minister, he wouldn't legislate on the matter at all. Is he anti-immigrant? Do you think he's anti-immigrant? He's taking a tougher stance now than he has in the past on the immigration system. But I talk to immigrants all the time who think the immigration system is a mess, is run amok, and that the immigration levels in Canada are too high, and that we have to rein that in. Even the government, the Liberal government, which has been in power for the last 10 years, recognizes that and is trying to lower the targets. So just what is it about this modern Conservative Party of Canada, which what I would point out has governed Canada pretty well for 10 years under Prime Minister Harper? What is it about Pierre Poilievre that makes him extreme right, sir?
I explained to you, I don't know how much time you are giving me, but I can explain to you.
Give me one thing. Give me one thing. Give me one thing.
Okay, one thing.
What is it?
One thing is this. When there was that protest by truckers in Ottawa during the COVID, if you recall, when
I was there.
When they occupied downtown Ottawa and they were making those protests, they were protesting, he was either the only MP or one of the few MP came to their support. He was a staunch supporter of truckers, and he was bringing Tim Horton, boxes of Tim Horton.
Do you think that makes him extreme? Does that make him an extremist? That he supported the Freedom Convoy?
Trump. He's against any policy with regard to COVID, with regard to taking measures for vaccination, and he is aligned with Alberta Premier, who is extreme to the right, and Alberta Premier...
All right. Okay. I've been very generous with the time, and there are other callers on the line, sir. I hope you'll call back. You said you were a first-time caller, but I'm pretty sure I talked to you before. But I hope to talk to you again. We won't agree all the time. Thank you for your call. Be right back. It's Talkback News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
All right, Greg in Calgary up next on the Friday Free for All Talkback. What's on your mind, Greg?
Holy cow, Rob. I hope you give me as much time as the last caller.
I will.
Your patience was extraordinary. But it was a perfect segue to what I'd like to talk about, which is tribalism.
Tribalism, okay.
Tribalism. With super intelligent AI hitting us by 2030, the plan is to have human beings wiped out. And the only thing that will save us is us.
Okay.
So getting back to your last caller, anything related to making judgments according to race, gender, age, religion, or political views shouldn't matter and doesn't matter. But those are the basis for the kinds of tribalism that we've seen. And particularly in politics, we're seeing extremes on the left and the right. And those extremes don't allow for common interests to be discussed. There's a doctor, and you may want to bring him on your show, Dr. Jean Christophe Boucher out of the University of Calgary. Okay. He did research on tribalism, and he said if I took 15 pieces of misinformation, and if a person believed in one of the 15, there was an 85% chance that that person would believe in the remaining 14 pieces of misinformation. So that's just an example of what I would call tribes with their diatribes. I've got friends on the extremes of left and right, and they've got their talking points. And when I agree with their talking points, we have a nice warm conversation. If I start pushing back, whether it's anti-vax, Palestine, Israel, separation questions here in Alberta.
Right.
And I just would like people to consider expressing their views respectfully and trying to build common ground with others and moving beyond all of these things that divide us as people, which are race, gender, age, religion, politics, just to name 5. And if we could actually start to listen to each other, hear what people's concerns are. And as a stark example, I'll say these current 2 referendum questions here in Alberta, which is one is separate and the other one is stay. And I would say they're both wrong.
Okay.
Can we not address some interests and concerns, which are quite valid, on the separatist agenda, and say, if your interests and concerns were addressed, would you consider staying? And I think most of the people I've talked to, even the very extreme people, are saying yes. But then they go into a diatribe to say, we've been at this 30 years and nothing's been done, and therefore I just want to leave. And on the stay side, I really love the people that want to keep Canada together. I'm a Canadian. I've got a flag in my front of my house. I just don't like Alberta staying in Confederation under the terms that we're currently under. And it's time to renegotiate something that was put together years ago, 100 years ago or more, and have an adult conversation about the interests. And I'm sure everything's negotiable. And if people would actually work together and listen to each other, I think Alberta could be a better partner in Canada than we are today. So thanks for listening.
Thank you, sir. And you're giving me hope. Greg, very inspiring, actually, Greg. Thank you. Reza in Calgary. Oh, actually, Reza, hold on. We'll have to stop here. Have to stop here. But you'd only have about 30 seconds, Reza. I want to give you more time than that if you'd be patient with me. You may even get the last word here on Talkback today for the entire week. Be right back on News Radio.
Have something on your mind you want everyone to know?
Call now.
Hello.
1-833-668-2577.
It's Talkback on Now You Know with Rob Snow.
Thank you, everyone, for being patient. Reza in Calgary up next. Reza? Hi, Reza. Are you there? No? Okay. George? Okay, George. Hi, George. Hello, George. Can you hear me? Rob
Hello?
to George. Hi, George. How are you today?
This is Reza. Can you hear
okay,
me?
Reza. Yeah, Reza, I hear you too. Yeah, go ahead, Reza.
How are you, Rob? Thanks for your
I'm
time.
good.
And thanks for
you're
your
welcome.
show. Always a pleasure
My
talking
pleasure.
to you.
Okay, what's on your mind?
So I want to talk about tariffs. I'm not a liberal, but I think this is the right path to resolving these issues. The reason I say that, from reading history and seeing what's happening globally, I think realism and being pragmatic will save a country like Canada with resources.
Okay.
I like to quote John Mearsheimer. He says that if you live next to a gorilla, don't poke it in the eye. But our bad policies can destroy this country. I give you an example recently happened. So we, in support of Americans, we put 100% tariffs on Chinese EV cars. Now China doesn't buy our canola, and now Americans put tariffs on us. I think we should carefully pick our friends and take sides. We can't please everyone. This is not appeasement. It's just being pragmatic in a globalized world.
Right.
Yeah.
I suppose that's one way to view it. That's one way to view it. And, it goes back to this old line in foreign policy. There are no friends, no enemies, just interests. Just interests.
Exactly.
Okay, that we can't look at Donald Trump as a friend or an enemy. Just what is in Canada's interest. And I guess Mark Carney thinks,
nailed it. Exactly.
Getting a deal with the Americans, given how big they are, how close they are, how important they are, we got to get a deal done. I guess that's Mark Carney's goal in the end, right? So, yeah. Anything else, Reza?
Have a good weekend.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Curtis, who's up next here? Jody? Okay, Jody in Airdrie. Okay, thank you. Jody?
Hi, Rob. First time caller.
Jody. Very nice to hear from you. Thanks for calling. What do
You're
you want to
welcome.
talk about?
I want to talk about Carney's announcement.
Okay.
My dad used to have a saying. He'd say, if you don't want a tug of war, drop your end of the rope.
Okay.
And I believe, and the reason I say that is that I believe that that's what Carney's doing. He is taking away some of the playing pieces from the board. And if you don't give him anything to play with, you can't play the game. And so I really respect what he's done. I think it's smart.
Okay. Okay.
That's my take.
Well, some people say he's kind of given up. He's surrendered. He's capitulated. What do you say to that? What happened to elbows up? You know.
I think he's a really smart guy, and we don't always play hockey.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And by the way, your show is of high entertainment value. It is priceless.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. But it's quitting time for me, and I'm going to go enjoy my weekend, if you don't mind. Thank you so much.
Take care.
I'll take your call anytime, Jody and Airdrie. That's it for us. Wow. Very busy into the week for us, and what has been a very, very busy news week. And, of course, it's not over yet. The latest breaking news is coming up next. We'll be back on Monday. Brand new topics, more of your calls, and always the latest breaking news on News Radio